On this episode of RC Kicks, we're back finally working on the Tamiya Ford F350, and in this episode we'll wrap up the build and take it for a bit of a run. Hi and welcome to RC Kicks. On today's show, well, we're back on the F350 and it's going to be a little bit different. Why? Well, normally when I do my filming, I film from the beginning and then I film all the process all the way through, finish and then edit it up. Well, with so much going on now and so many projects coming in, I would finish a project in the day and in the evening I would tinker around with other bits and pieces that are normally too small projects to actually have a video of their own. But with this, I kind of really got into the 350 and I kind of finished it before I started filming it. Now, I did manage to pick up some footage, so I have got stuff to show you, but normally how I work is I film and I do the building or painting, whatever, and then I finish and then I edit it up. Whereas now we're kind of starting from a finished point and then we're talking about it and going through. So, sorry about that, bit different, hey. Also, just before we kick off, I'd like to say a massive thank you to EuroRC for sponsoring this project. Without them sponsoring the show, I cannot bring this content to you. So if you're looking to buy any RC, go check them out. I'll put a link below. They've got tons of RC goodness. So if you're in the market for something, go check them out. You might get yourself a good deal. Right, so I'm just going to show you the finished product and then we'll talk through what we did since the last video. If you haven't seen all the previous videos from the unboxing, the building of the chassis, the electronics, and then getting started with the body, I'll put a link up here. There's about 3 other videos I think in this project, so if you haven't seen them, go check those out because jumping to this point wouldn't be as much fun as watching those. Right, okay, I think we've covered everything. So let me show you what I've got. It's fully finished, fully working. I went with black in the end. Now, a few of you are going to comment, well, why didn't you just get the reproduction one? Because the reproduction one comes in black. Well, I wanted the Tamiya one, obviously. And I had black and I thought, well, I'll give it a go. I did like the look of the aftermarket one, which also sort of reassured me that going black was what I wanted. Things I've done differently as well. I put a red stripe down the side. But painting up the body, so how do I paint up my hard bodies? Well, I paint them pretty much like I paint real cars. Yes, I used to paint cars myself and I used to paint wing mirrors and bumpers and stuff like that. And it's pretty straightforward, and if anything, I find it slightly easier than the polycarbonate being reversed. All you do is scuff up the plastic. Now the material is very soft, so you don't need a very high aggressive grit sandpaper, just a light key over everything. Then all you do is you get your primer. I've got H primer, but you wouldn't use that on plastic because it doesn't work. I mean, you can use it. I've got it lying around, so there you go. But mainly that would be for metal. You get your primer, you primer everything. Primer is very easy to paint on, and then you key it back a little bit. You do a couple of layers of primer, let that go off completely. Then you can sand it down very lightly, maybe a bit of wet sanding, depending on how far you want to go with your finish. After you've done that, you just pick the color you want, standard car paint. I've gone for Ford Shadow Black. These are all from Halfords, which is a UK general car store. So not very expensive stuff. And then you put a few layers of that down. Now, there's a few things you can do depending on how much effort you want to put into your finish. Now you can color wet sand it, or depending on what color you go for. Or you can just add a few coats, and then once that's done, you then get your clear lacquer. And then you put your clear lacquer down, you do say 3 coats of clear lacquer, and that's what gives you your shine. And then after that, you can polish it all out. But what I recommend is if you do paint this, don't go hard on trying to polish it all up at the beginning. Give it a good 3 or 4 weeks for the paint to really harden down before you go crazy trying to get a real super polish on it. That's what I tend to do. Otherwise, if you spray it and then the next day you're there trying to polish it, the paint hasn't really cured properly and you need it to go really hard. And then you can put as much effort into it as you want, whether you want an actual shine that's as good as a car. It's all down to how much effort you want to put in, and it just takes time. I've only just started the polishing the front and the top. I haven't done the sides at all. Obviously, depending on how good your painting is, will get you to a certain level of how shiny, because obviously the shine is done by how flat everything is. So there you go, that's painting up, and then bolting it all together. Pretty straightforward, just follow the instructions, putting all the front together and the back. I didn't actually do the front in black in there, I kind of left it. Being that the rest of the truck is black, I thought I would just keep everything to a minimum. I went with all the white. Then I decided that I wanted to put a red stripe down the side. So I ordered the stripe tape, and then I've just done a red one down the side. And then I took some of the decals and I actually cut them in so they look like they're part of the stripe, which I'm quite happy with. And that's pretty much the only thing I'd like to do different is I'd like to change the wheels and tyres for something a little bit more, I don't know, I just not sold on these. I don't know whether they just look too small. Another thing I did is I've changed the suspension. It now has oil suspension on it. The friction shocks on it, I wasn't sold on friction shocks, so I replaced them. But I just have to give a big shout out to Mateos, I think he calls himself, Mateos RC Movies. I'll put a link in the description below. I found his video on these shocks and I really like this scale look of them. So I decided I'd copy him, and I picked up a set from the link that he supplied, and they came super quick from America. So I like them because they're obviously the colour, they look very real as well, and it just gives a little bit of colour to a very sort of dark truck, which I really liked. The only thing he's done that I haven't done is he changed his springs, because the suspension is so hard on this truck that this is set to the most minimum possible, and it's still pretty hard. The back I'm really happy with. The front is a little bit bouncy, so I need to put slightly thicker oil in it, so I will do that. So there you go. I know, I'm sorry I did most of it off camera, but I really like this. I'm not sure if I'm going to take the front bar off or not. I honestly don't know. Maybe I'll do that. I'm not too keen on that. Right, all we've got left to do now is to take it for a bit of a run. So let's crack on, take it outside, and hope I don't roll it over. Oh no. Well, that didn't last long, I broke it already. So there you go, that didn't last long, did it? It broke already. I was driving it for like 4 minutes, 5 minutes. What a shame. Looks like I've imploded the kit servo saver. It's quite a heavy truck, so when I was driving over those logs, it must have been leaning on the wheels. I've adjusted the steering and it's just basically broken into 3 pieces. It's not the end of the world. I will upgrade it. If you're building one of these, I would probably say don't use the kit one, because I was doing nothing aggressive whatsoever. And I think that's one of the big challenges with this kit. It is showing its age. So if you're looking for a crawler and a something to take out walking and things like that, this probably won't be the way to go. You'd be better off just getting a modern crawler that's just got so much more articulation and is much stronger and can just take a little bit more abuse and is just way more capable. The running gear on this truck is a bit sloppy too, so you're not getting precision. But it was a beautiful build and I really enjoyed it, hence I got so carried away and not filming it. So I can recommend it from a building point of view. So the two kind of people I think would get this would be a Tamiya enthusiast that remembers this from back in the day that now has the means to get it, and someone who has built a few RC buggies but is looking for something a bit more of a challenge, but the idea of doing a full truck, for instance, is too much for them. This is a brilliant intermediate step, and I am lucky enough to be able to have done that so that I can then take on a truck with a little bit more confidence. So this kind of sits right in the middle between doing a buggy, for instance, and a truck. So I really enjoyed the gearbox, putting it all together, getting it working was fantastic. So there you go, that's the Ford F350. Comment below, let me know what you think. Have you got one? What did you think of it? It is a beautiful looking, high quality bit of engineering, but I think it sits very much on the half model, half RC. If you rolled it over, you'd snap your wing mirrors off instantly and it wouldn't take much abuse to break it properly. But there you go, that's the Ford F350. I'd just like to say a massive thank you to EuroRC for sponsoring this build series, because there's no way I could have brought this to you without their sponsorship. Thanks very much, see you soon, bye bye.